the second game since the trade deadline, which looked pretty ugly after the first half, but they righted the ship. It's really hard to not, point to the defense there in the second half. Shots didn't fall in the first half. They started to fall in the second, but again, this is the second time in as many games. They put the clamps down in the second half. 40 held the Hawks to 40 points. Last game was 42 points in the second half. So this is back-to-back wins since the trade deadline. Celtics are rolling. They're the 6th seed now in the East. They are out of play-in territory for the first time in a long time. So just Bobby's at the Garden here in the darkness, hiding out a little bit. But behind all of that is Bobby, I swear. What were your thoughts, first impressions?
I'm super impressed by what they're doing in these second halves. Everything you mentioned right there.
Yeah,
They dropped off the amount of points that the Hawks scored, starting with 28, which wasn't even that bad in that awful first.
it
And
wasn't bad.
goes down to 27, 23, and then 17, edging out a team 18-17 in a fourth quarter like that. It's super impressive. It feels like, just scanning the Twitter lines here, that they're starting to catch some national attention too for what they're doing on that end. The closing lineup that they're able to put out there with the two good defensive guards, the two big wings, and Rob in the middle. It's stifling right now. And listen, they were awful offensively, I thought, in that fourth. They still were able to scrap out enough possessions on the defensive end to get this done. Rob around the net was super impressive. Tatum locking up Young on switches was phenomenal. This is a formula for winning right now, and they're doing it against really good teams. A big time offense, 30 points from Young, 26, I believe it was, from Bogdanovich in this one. Jokic played at an MVP level in that game, and they're still disrupting these guys
Yeah,
just
again,
enough to
I'm not going
scrape
to.
by.
Yeah, and I don't want to draw it out every time, but again, they're catching some breaks along the way. Again, you're obviously playing a Denver team that's banged up. They haven't been without Murray all year. You miss Collins today, which certainly makes an impact and does make a change. But again, you play the teams in front of you. You're not gonna, Brooklyn had literally nobody. So it is what it is in that regard. But they're winning, these games, and it's 8 in a row now, 10 of 11. And again, it's still the defense. The thing is, and they're surviving it right now, which is good. You are worried, Bobby, against like a full team that's operating on all cylinders with a premium offense, if they can keep up. Because when you have shooting nights like this, again, they're able to overcome again the second straight really bad Jaylen Brown game. Derek White, a honeymoon lasted a full game. He still did some nice things tonight, but he's 2 of 10 from 3-point land. If this was his debut tonight, people would be like, wait a second, what? This guy, 10 friggin' 3-point attempts, you'd be, you know, there'd be an overreaction to that. And again, a lot of these were good looks, and some of them were late in the clock looks where there was nothing else you could do. So you're not going to bemoan the attempts, but you're going to look overall at the shooting of this team and say that could be a problem. Again, though, when they put the clamps down on defense like they do here, the defense turns to offense. It solves a lot of problems, and they're able to get away with it. And they really took control of the game late. But the shooting is still a thing that's gonna worry you throughout. And there's really not a solution for it because Ime's clearly not going into the bench. He's not going to Nesmith. He's not going to Hauser, and he's not playing. Pritchard. Premium minutes here.
Yeah, and Pritchard gets some opportunities to sneak in some shots there. He's still not hitting in these limited minutes, which is rough because they got to sneak it in anywhere they can.
Yeah.
Now, Brown can give it to you. Tatum, on a night like this, is enough, probably.
That's
In
the
that
thing
third
is like when
quarter, he
Tatum
was
does
volcanic.
that,
Yeah.
both
So
ends.
he finally broke out of that lull he's been in for a game and a half here and just looked like the best player on the court in the third quarter there. Going at Okongwu in particular, who gave him fits in that last game, was super impressive. Dunking on him to end that third quarter, shooting right over him to begin the fourth. Those were all big buckets from him. And when the Hawks really went on a run there in the second quarter, he kind of staggered it with a bunch of buckets in the second there too. Shot making from Tatum is going to be everything for this group, but like you talk about, John, because of the fact that they don't have the shooters at other positions. And I thought he was tremendous. Probably had a 7-8 assist game in terms of quality passes.
Tatum
And
was playing
everybody
well.
just missed him. Yeah.
Yeah, Tatum was playing well even before the shots started going down. That's one of the differences between him and Brown, I think, a lot of times, is
He can
Tatum
have a
on
good
his
game in spite of
on
bad
his
scoring
bad
nights.
shooting nights, sometimes he still does a lot of other things well. And I tweeted it, you mentioned it. He put the clamps on Trey a couple of times when he switched over on him, caused a turnover that one time where he was just stuck out at an island on him by himself. He made some great defensive plays, had a block. Was moving the ball, passed out of doubles fairly quickly. He did a ton of stuff, and then the shots started falling. Jaylen, on the other hand, isn't doing that as much. He's not impacting the game as much when he's not scoring. So that's kind of, you can see the disparity between them. Joe Sway jumping in. What's up, buddy? Your first
What's going
first
on,
thoughts on
guys?
tonight. What's happening?
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Bobby was saying. I mean, you can also talk about the way that I felt like just the second half in general. I mean, obviously the third quarter we made a difference, but in my opinion, it was also Tatum finding ways to be effective on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Being more active, where he doesn't go into that. I don't know. We used to call it what, pouty Tatum, whatever it was, where he's not getting his calls, he's not getting his way, the shots aren't falling. I think we've moved past that. And obviously that's a big difference for this team because you're seeing that in my opinion, on the defensive end. And in the second half, it was just sort of like, let's just keep doing what we're doing, and the shots will fall. And that's what happened with Tatum. He didn't force the issue. He wasn't chucking up shots. He wasn't playing ISO ball. And I feel like the way this team is, the culture in it, just disallows that. It's almost reached the Celtics have almost reached a point where they'll feel very uncomfortable if someone starts to start jacking up shots or try to take matters into their own hands. And we haven't really seen much of that, and that's a good thing.
Let me ask you this real quick. I put up this comment. There's a few people here saying it. I don't want to go there because every time I do, everyone's like, oh, can't we just enjoy the wins? And yes, you can enjoy the wins. But instead of saying, was this a good win against a Hawks team that's right now playing below expectations and without one of their key players, what would be a good win at this point in this Eastern Conference? Because right now, who's left? Yes, absolutely. Chicago. I mean, Chicago's been banged up too. Cleveland is Cleveland. Brooklyn's been.
This is the rest of your
Yeah.
schedule.
I mean, your schedule's kind of like this, right?
Right.
I mean,
And
I know
also-
you have Philly. I know you have Philly coming up, and that's
I
obviously going to be a huge one. But like everybody's a little banged up right now. Like there's no
Yeah.
one out. I don't know who you're calling unless you beat Phoenix right now. Which is not on
Yeah,
their
They
schedule.
did.
But see,
And they did, I know, but they were down Aiton and
Yeah,
one other, right?
They had
And
the
plus-
two guys.
And Paul. They were down Aiton and Paul.
No,
that
they had
game.
Paul.
and plus New Year's.
Oh, they did.
New
They
Year's
did.
Eve-
They did.
New Year's Eve feels like 3 months ago. You know what I mean? Like this team
Right.
is way far past that.
But like everyone's
and
like,
yeah.
it's not a good win. Like, what would be a good win? These are
Well,
pretty good wins,
Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say the reason why I think it feels that way is because they had to play uphill a bit, right? I mean, the same thing that we saw a couple of nights ago where they were down by 10, and maybe they just the Celtics are sort of the fans have been spoiled with these blowout wins over those teams that you should be crushing, over the bottom feeders of the league.
You're
And
supposed to.
And you go up against a short-handed Hawks team.
Yeah.
I guess fans just want to see a dominating performance from start to finish.
But I
and they don't
like
want to say.
these.
I like them
You
too,
know,
John.
I
really
like
do.
games where you play like ass for half a game for the half.
I
and
had
then
no
through
confidence that they
intensity
were
and
going to win this
focus and
game.
defense, they
I mean, I wouldn't
completely
word it-
took it over. Yeah.
I wouldn't word it that way, John, but I mean, I just feel like, falling from behind. I mean, yeah, they didn't look great, but at least they're not like completely out of it. I feel like the defense is keeping them into games. And also in the second half, when you see that turnaround, you're seeing the Celtics face adversity, but in a way that it didn't come as easy as it would for other teams, right? Putting together 6 stops in a row in that quarter, like that's
Right.
That's huge. Like
People-
that's dominating.
People keep saying it. It's hard not to acknowledge that, yes, along the way on this streak, there's been some teams that have had nobody available, some really bad teams in general here, but you've also beaten them by 30 something. Okay. So and then you play a couple of games where you're not anywhere near peak performance against quality opponents, even if they're down a guy, and you still win those games when you're integrated. They played last night. I mean, they played 2 nights ago with like 7 guys. I mean, they're playing a short rotation. They haven't filled everything out. They're integrating people into their thing, and they're still winning these games without like what you would consider an A++ effort. I mean, I don't know what more you want necessarily at this point. These are good. I think these are good wins.
These are great opponents. And look at,
and these
I
are
just,
good opponents. These are good wins. I know people kind of
Right.
ask it and we kick it around. Yeah.
You versus
at
the
this,
MVP
yeah,
and one of the MVP,
right,
probably top 10 MVP candidates in a Trae Young here.
yeah.
And you got good performance from both of them against you. They were tough to stop here. Early on in these
Yeah.
games, those guys were giving you fits, scoring in buckets, scoring in stretches there. And I just read this on the Twitter line here. The Hawks and Nuggets had top 4 offenses over the last 15 coming into these games. They were averaging 116 points a game between them. And the
Yeah, a
Celtics
couple
had
weeks
both to
ago,
100,
they
under
they
100
they
here.
they outplayed the Celtics completely. So yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
how many?
and this game was going like that too. Go down double digits early. Great third quarter. The fourth quarter, everyone starts fumbling the ball at the beginning, but they got back on their feet.
Would you believe I had
Right.
faith the whole time, Bobby? I know you were down. I actually thought they were gonna. I even in the first half, I thought they were gonna win this game.
Oh, Bogdanovich was scoring so much. Young was
No,
pulling Rob, and the rebounding issues. I thought they were done in that second.
I liked it. I don't think
Well,
Atlanta. Yeah,
Gallinari disappeared. Like, where was he today? Like, he was a killer for
He's
the
a shell
Celtics
of
against the
himself.
Celtics. Yeah, that's true, Bobby. But lately,
yeah.
he's been something that they can rely on, and he lit the Celtics up.
There's
For,
nowhere
for
to
that
go.
second
His
half.
his game is finding a mismatch and shooting over guys. There's nowhere to go here. There isn't.
So
And
that's
this
the
is what's
difference now, right?
this is what
Yeah,
is just great about this team and this rotation. Listen, I'd like to see Pritchard get mixed in. Neesmith shooting could help them. But right now, they have a rotation where there's no weak links on the defensive end. And that's rare on an NBA
yeah,
team. Almost every team has guys you can go at. Look at the Hawks and Young. And listen, once Hunter went off the floor with those foul troubles early in the third, their defense just melted like butter. Oh, the Celtics scored on 10 of the next 11 possessions, and Atlanta's defense just continues to hamper them. I don't like where that team's going, and I was stunned that they didn't make any moves at the deadline. So here's the thing when you talk about the schedule, John, and the week stretch coming up here. They played tough games early in the year. They played a lot of road games, tough opponents through that streak. Now they're on the other side of that. They're going to be playing like maybe 4 or 5 tough teams the rest of the schedule. And you talk about injuries, guys sitting down with some pain. That's normal for this part of the year. So they're going to win so many games through the end of the year here. I've said this, and I know Joe Sway feels this way too. They're going to be a home court team in the East. They are. Like, the schedule is
yeah.
just so easy. Other teams have brutal stretches to close the year. Miami, I know in particular. They're going to sneak past one of these teams here in the top half. And that
I don't
sets you up
know.
with a home court first round series, a weaker opponent. I know it's weird this year with like Atlanta and Brooklyn being on the bottom half, but this is setting up well for them here.
The schedule makes a difference. You have Brooklyn coming up twice. If I don't know what's happening in terms of who's going to be playing, but you have 2
One
games
of
coming
them's
up.
a Brooklyn game with no Irvin.
One of them's a no Kyrie game, obviously, on Thursday. Bobby will be down at that one. And then you do have Atlanta again coming up. You've got Memphis. You do have Brooklyn here. So that's going to be a Kyrie game, assuming, he doesn't chicken out. Charlotte. You do have Golden State. You have another with Denver, Utah, Miami. There are a few on the schedule.
That
And
West Coast
you
swing
don't know
could
what's
be
going to
tricky.
happen, but the close, the last 3 games, if those teams are playing for anything, is a real murderer's row. Those last 3 games, Memphis, Milwaukee, and I forget who.
Chicago, I believe.
Chicago, right?
Chicago. That's a tough one.
So that's a couple tough ones. So there are some on here. You're going to see a couple of games here where you're going to be like, all right, full strength versus full strength to get a better sense of stuff. But I mean, you're Philly on Tuesday. So, you're going to feel good no matter what, Philly's had your number.
It's a
You're going to
brutal
feel good
matchup
there.
for them now.
Yeah.
Yeah.